It is surprisingly difficult to cross the English Channel as a foot passenger. Sure, there's Eurostar, but they only run to London, which is quite tedious if you want to go to the southeast of England. The other train to the Channel Tunnel, as well as 2 of the 3 ferry companies on the short Calais to Dover crossing, don't allow foot passengers at all. And the 3rd ferry company is P&O, who in 2022 decided to fire all their crews overnight in, as they later cheerfully admitted, a quite unlawful fashion. While the government may turn a blind eye, I am certainly not willing to travel with those people. Luckily, the spring of 2025 brought a new option, which is why I'm dragging you through the rainy streets of Boulogne-sur-Mer this Saturday morning. We are looking for the Quai Gambetta, and no, not a big row-row ferry, but this, the sailboat Echoes. Echoes is the flagship of Saillink, who operate regularly scheduled trips between Boulogne and Dover during the summer months. While they are allowed to take 12 passengers, today it is only me, so we can take our time with the welcome and introductions over a cup of proper builder's tea. After I am being given a life preserver and am told how not to fall off the boat, I go for my traditional walk around the ship. That concludes somewhat more quickly than usual and involves decidedly fewer stairs. Soon, the border police comes round for a lovely chat. They are decidedly more cheerful than in their little booths at St. Pancras, and maybe also to check us all out of France, well, they're here anyway. And then, it is time to cast off. We motor down the last meters of the Liane River, but before we even reach the harbour walls, the engine is switched off and the sail goes up. And soon, we are sailing quietly out of the safety of the harbour. It seems I have chosen poorly when picking a date for the crossing, as it becomes clear that sailing quietly is disappearing fast from today's menu. With the rain came strong winds, making this the first day since the start of sailing's operations a couple weeks earlier that isn't all sunshine and happy seas. On the plus side, having both the wind and the tide pushing us along, we are looking at a very quick 4-hour crossing. It can take 6 hours if the wind is all wrong. And Echoes jumping across the crest of the waves is quite enjoyable. Except, the pills I bought seem to have come from the placebo pile, and about halfway into the trip, denial isn't an option any longer, and I have to go and spend some quality time with the ship's bucket. So, sadly, I can't show you any footage of the little catamaran sneaking through the line of really big ships. The good news about seasickness, at least for me, is that as quickly as it comes, it goes away again. Here you sit thinking that this day is utterly ruined, and minutes later you are up and about, happily watching the approach to Dover's harbour walls. With wind and tides pushing the water against the walls, piling it up into the most spectacular waves yet, this approach truly is the grand finale of this voyage. But soon, we are within the safe embrace of the harbour. As the crew stows the sails and prepares the boat for arrival, I finally have time to look around. Visibility is too poor today to see the famous white cliffs, but over there is the port for the big ships, and yonder, looking foreshadowingly hidden in the low clouds, is Dover Castle. We motor to our berth, where we then have to wait for the border force. They have to come over from Folkestone, about 10 miles away, and are thoroughly stuck in the Saturday leisure traffic. But eventually they turn up for another friendly chat and tedious transfer of passport data into laptops, and soon my all-too-short adventure with Echoes and a wonderful crew comes to an end. And you know what? I'm glad that there was a wee bit of weather. Everyone can go on a jaunt when the sun is out and the sea is the proverbial tablecloth. You want her to show a bit of teeth and hint at what she can do. I will change my supplier for seasickness pills, though. Back on land, I realized that where I really screwed up my timing is that this Saturday is the first day of May half-term and all the towns along the coast are booked solid. The only rooms I could find on short notice had a rating of 2 out of 10 and were still charging 150 quid. This means that there will have to be trains after all. So, to the station then. With a row of fancy terrace houses looking out over the sea, Dover starts out like many other English seaside towns. But it quickly forgets about it and becomes a regular small town, And there is this castle looming above. After a couple 100 meters, I can't withstand its thrall any longer, turn right and start to climb towards it. Eventually, there is a sign, ticket required beyond this point, and a little gatehouse. I am too surprised to film either, so you have to take my word for it. I asked for a ticket and am told £38. I must have looked quite shocked, as the nice lady immediately clarifies that this includes a voluntary donation. Ah, good, so how much without it? £34.50. I managed to refrain from a sarcastic, "Oh, that's all right then," and instead, after only the briefest of hesitations, choose YOLO, and am thus allowed across the drawbridge and into the castle. The first attraction I come across is called the Secret Wartime Tunnels, but it involves a guided tour and a queue, so I skip it and instead climb further up the hill, repeatedly mumbling 38 quid along the way. Taking a little detour, I find a lovely corner that is queue-free, and in fact people-free, with a bench and great views. Eventually, I reach another bridge and arrive at the inner castle. While this spot, overlooking a natural harbour right at the end of the shortest channel crossing, has likely been fortified forever, the current-day keep only dates back to the late 12th century. With its functional box shape, you could call the style medieval brutalism. The interior of the keep has been decorated to reflect how it might have looked during those medieval times. It is striking how brightly colourful everything is. Filming inside proves tricky, there just are too many involuntary extras, so let's climb straight to the roof. If you brave the strong winds up here, you will enjoy yet more great views. That little church there looks lovely, so let's go there next. The church is St. Mary sub Castro, St. Mary below the castle, and may very well have been here since 600 AD. Variously extended, neglected and rebuilt over the centuries, its current appearance is the result of something called the Victorian Restorations, a movement to restore English churches during the second half of the 19th century. This, naturally, means that the interior is quite a bit less colourful, but it certainly isn't just grey on grey. It is quite impressive, really, for what from the outside looked like a tiny chapel. Beyond the church, there are seemingly endless and very green ramparts. And I guess that's it. So I walk down again, back into town, and finally to the station. Borrowing the Italian tradition of sprucing up your station names by referring to nearby religious sites, Dover's main railway station is called Dover Priory, after the former Dover Priory, which was dissolved under Henry VIII and now houses a private school. The station sits jammed between two hills, with tunnels at both ends. Initially, it wasn't Dover's main railway station. That was the station complex located at the other side of the southern of the two tunnels. Back then, this was where the boats to France and Belgium were leaving. With the opening of the Channel Tunnel in 1994, only the car ferries and the post-war eastern ferry docks remained, and Dover Priory became the main railway station. My train is now arriving through that southern tunnel, coming from London via the same high-speed line that Eurostar uses, which explains its sleek, pointy looks. It continues through the northern tunnel, but instead of returning to the capital, it performs a 180 after emerging. Swinging around, it provides a final, excellent view of a town and castle. It then turns left again, starting a nearly straight run, heading northeast. We briefly stop at the very agreeably named Martin Hill and continue through the now very flat landscape. The straight run ends, back at the coast, in the town of Deal. We now turn northwest to get to the next stop, Sandwich, my destination. I have chosen Sandwich not just because it surely must be a good place for dinner, but also because, being about 2 miles away from the sea, accommodation prices are merely outrageous instead of utterly insane. So, this is a good place to end the day, because tomorrow I will be still going home.